Am I the asshole for banning Mill from my life after she said I slept with Phil? So, for context, I met my Mill and Phil before I met my boyfriend because I used to work for them. He happens to be autistic, Asperger's, and I noticed shortly after starting the relationship that everyone in his family always treated him like he was unable to do things on his own and pretty much tried to influence him into doing the things they wanted him to, career-wise, job-wise, quitting hobbies they considered childish, etc. I told myself I would never do this, and I would always treat him like the adult he is. So I encourage him to make his own decisions, and I can tell he's grown a lot in the past 5 years of relationship. In fact, I feel we have both grown up. Back to his mom. I always noticed she resented that I became such an important person for her son, and that he started taking my opinion, input in matters so much in consideration. But I always tried to be friends with her, talk to her in her own terms and pretty much be close to her. But as it usually happens, it became more a pretend to be nice to your face and then trash talk about you behind your back kind of situation. Things really went down when my boyfriend let me borrow his car to go on a 4-day college trip, and when she found out, she went ballistic cause he never lends her the car to go anywhere. She started screaming and saying that I was just a manipulative bitch who had slept with half our town before we met and even his father, and because his father wouldn't continue the relationship I started dating the son. This is of course, a lie. My boyfriend had a big meltdown from hearing this, and when I came back from the trip he asked me to move in with me for a while, because he didn't want to be around her. This was months ago. I haven't talked to her again, blocked her on every social media and started going to therapy. My boyfriend is okay now, and he is now on speaking terms with her. Now we are moving to a house of our own. We were at my parents', and his family is pushing for us to have a good relationship with Mill again, but to be quite honest, I don't want her in my life anymore. I understand she's my BF's mom and she's always going to be in the picture, but I can't get past the fact that she would say the things she said, knowing how much those things would hurt her son, just because he let me borrow his car and not her, because he doesn't trust her. So obviously I'm still mad. But everyone in my BF's family says she's a good mom, that this was just a mistake she made, and that I should let it pass and fix things with her. Am I the asshole for never ever wanting to talk to her again? Edit. I use the terms Mill and Phil even though we're not married because it's easier to write and because it's the literal translation to the words suegra, suegro in Spanish, my first language. Not the asshole. Sounds like she's jealous and threatened because you're taking a huge part of her identity away, her autistic son. She was heavily invested on keeping him helpless because it garnered her attention and sympathy, and you're showing everyone that he's capable. Not the asshole. Boy, tough situation. Does your boyfriend support your position? And props to you for seeing past his Asperger and treating like everyone should, as an adult. Hell no, not the asshole. Not the way things are right now. Why should you let her back in your life, without her having to work at it? Has she even offered some form of genuine apology? Not the asshole for not wanting a relationship with someone who is verbally and emotionally abusive. Definitely discuss boundaries with the boyfriend before moving into the house though. Don't want to come home from work one day to find boyfriend and Mill having coffee at the kitchen table. Not the asshole. Going no contact with toxic people is beneficial for your mental health. You should cross-post to r/JUSTNOMIL. Lots of people on that sub are dealing with similar issues and can give lots of helpful advice on setting and maintaining boundaries. NTA. Be tolerant for as long as your boyfriend is. Maybe someday he will cut her off on his own. Maybe she will bend his ear their whole life. It's sad, but some people won't cut toxicity out of their lives because they share blood. I hope she doesn't do anything like that to you again. Also, are his mom and dad still together? She just accused you of her husband stepping out on her and is just like, mad at you? Not the asshole. What a weird outburst. Sounds to me like she hates no longer having control over her son's life and that he's gained some independence and was thinking of anything spiteful to say just to hurt you. Let's face it. No one is waiting 5 years to bring up cheating unless it's a nuclear revenge. Not the asshole. Has she even apologized? Am I the asshole for refusing to give up my study for my stepdaughter? Update. Wow, it's amazing how people have misread our relationship. First, Matt is not a freeloading loser. He works close to full-time as a pediatrics nurse, slightly reduced hours so he can care for Phoebe after school, supported us for a year or so while I was getting my business off the ground. And does most of the housework. Frankly, he's a gem and I'm lucky to have him. We sat down and had a less fraught discussion about things. He's panicking about Phoebe moving away and the impact it will have on his relationship with her. He also hadn't realized just how much money my business is bringing in now, and thought I was being foolish with the amount of money I was throwing around on holidays, etc. The thought of adding a hefty debt on top of the panic about Phoebe had him overreacting. We've gone over the figures, and worked out there's a good chance I can pay for the loft conversion without having to take out a loan, if we just get professionals in for the structural side of thing and do the rest of the work ourselves. We're going to get a couple of quotes and see how the numbers play out, but this is looking very likely, with my office being in the loft. And for people telling me Phoebe isn't my stepdaughter, maybe not legally, but she is in every way that counts. And #X200B. And #X200B. I, 41F, have been living with my boyfriend Matt, 40M, for 2 years, together for 4. Matt has a daughter, Phoebe, F7, who lives with her mum, literally around the corner. It's maybe a 3-minute walk between our houses, so Phoebe spends a lot of time at ours but always sleeps at her mum's. However, Phoebe's mum is moving to a bigger house because she's expecting another baby. This means Phoebe will be about 30 minutes away, so will be spending nights with us. We have what's technically a 2-bed house, but one of those bedrooms is my study. IWFH in a job with high data security requirements. Matt wants me to give up my study so Phoebe can have a bedroom. While I could technically put a bed in my study and share it with Phoebe, it would make it harder for me to work, and it would mean she couldn't be in her bedroom during working hours. I've suggested that either we move to a 3-bedroom house, or look at converting our attic into a bedroom. Either of these options would involve borrowing money, and Matt has a near phobia of debt due to his chaotic childhood. I own our current house outright, having inherited it from my gran before I met Matt. I don't charge him rent. We split utilities and groceries proportionate to income. I cover all maintenance costs, but he helps out with the labor. He says I'm being selfish for putting myself before Phoebe. I say he's being selfish for the same reason. Not the asshole. Man, I was prepared to yell at you, until I learned you're willing to move to give your stepdaughter a bedroom. You aren't selfish. You're very accommodating, actually. Your husband needs to address his debt trauma, and get good with buying a bigger home. Your family has needs for a larger home, plain and simple. Whoops, editing to add. You aren't married. My brain rewrote a little bit of your life story, apologies. And to be honest, I don't think you should move. I think you should convert your attic and keep letting your house increase in value RN. Not the asshole. So, he's mooching off you, but that's still not good enough for him. Not the asshole, it's your home he lives in rent-free. He needs to work with you to make this work. He doesn't get to demand anything. Not the asshole. Boyfriend wants to have things his way at the expense of both OP and his daughter. Renovation makes the most sense here. The debt incurred would not be in boyfriend's name and OP would still get to keep her home. Crippling anxiety over someone else acquiring debt is not an excuse to hamstring OP's work-life balance or mess up what seems like a fairly decent co-parenting arrangement. He should get himself some treatment for that anxiety, seeing as it's clearly impeding his everyday functionality. Not the asshole. You need a private office. Phoebe needs her own room. You have offered 2 generous solutions to that problem at no expense to your live-in rent-free boyfriend, but he thinks you're selfish? I think it's pretty clear who's being a selfish pig-headed bully here, and it's not you, OP. Not the asshole. What has he been doing with his money? He hasn't been paying towards a rent, mortgage, and he doesn't have money saved up? It isn't your job to supply his daughter with a room. You've offered him solutions: move or convert the attic. You don't have to give up your office because he doesn't want to invest in a home or a remodel. You work from home and you need an office. You aren't saying you don't care, you have solutions, he just doesn't like them. Not the asshole. At first I was think YTA because the kid needs a bedroom, but you offered to sell your house and get a bigger one to accommodate his daughter. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It's your house, he's just living in it. If the attic has sufficient capabilities, i.e. HVAC, real floors, a window or 2, then that's perfectly reasonable, and so is going to a 3-bedroom place. I totally understand that he doesn't want to go into debt, but he should have some decent money saved up from living rent-free for the past 2 years. Am I the asshole for telling my friend she has to move out after she gave her boyfriend a key? I, 28F. Own a 3-bedroom flat. My friend, 27F, was struggling for a place to stay, so I told her she could stay with me and I'd rent her one of my rooms out till she found somewhere else. This was just a loose agreement, not on paper etc., as she is my friend. She has been staying with me for 7 months. All things considered, she was a decent enough roommate. She didn't eat my food, she paid me on time. It annoyed me that she'd sometimes forget to give notice her boyfriend was staying overnight, but she always apologized and promised next time she'd remember to, and she did maybe half the time. The issue came about 2 days ago when I walked into my home and found her boyfriend watching TV. I was a bit surprised by this as my friend shouldn't be home yet, but asked if she was in the other room. He told me no, he was just waiting on her coming back from work. At this point I was more than a little on edge by the fact he was somehow here without her and asked him how he'd gotten in. He showed me the key and said she'd given him one so he could come round to hang out. I won't lie, I was shocked at this and rather upset. I demanded he give me the key back and get out of my home. He seemed surprised and ready to protest as she'd given him the key, but I told him this was my home and she had no right to do this and to get the fuck out now. He handed over the key, clearly thinking I was overreacting, but left. When my roommate came back, I confronted her, asking her why she thought she had any right to give a key out and to especially do so without asking me. She told me I was being unreasonable and it was her home too, so she should be able to give out keys if she wanted to. This led to an argument and I finally told her this wasn't her home. She was only renting a room and she was to get out within 2 weeks, as I don't trust her now. The last 2 days she's been trying to tell me I'm overreacting and being unfair. She has apologized though, admitted she doesn't see what the big deal is, and is begging me not to kick her out. Am I the asshole? Edit. As some people think 2 weeks isn't much time to find a new place, don't worry, she won't end up on the streets. She can find a new place or go back to her parents' home, which is where she was staying until I let her move in. If she didn't have them to go to, she'd have more time. Not the asshole. You are 10,000% justified and correct in feeling and reacting as you did with everything that happened. Not the asshole, she didn't take the hint from the fact that you wanted notice before her boyfriend stayed over, and then thought it would be okay to give him a key. Not the asshole. Don't forget to change your locks. Not the asshole massively. This is your home. You were good to let her stay, but she's abused your trust by giving out a key to someone else without your permission. I'm sure if she'd asked first, you'd have said no. This isn't forgivable in my opinion, and she doesn't even seem that sorry because she still doesn't think it was that wrong of her to do. Not the asshole. It is your home. It sounds like you panicked in the moment, which is perfectly understandable, so I can see how you'd mistake this for an overreaction. But rest assured, this is perfectly understandable. 2 weeks is a bit short if I'm honest, but oh well, at some point she was going to move out, right? This was always meant to be temporary. This friend is not on your level emotionally. You helped her out, she disrespected you not once but many times. What she did was unforgivable. A major breach of trust. How you must have felt walking in and seeing him sitting there must have been dreadful. That she doesn't fully comprehend that is unbelievable. You've been kinder than most giving her 2 weeks' notice. Do not engage any more in justifying why you are upset. She's never going to get it, but your actions may help her to better focus her mind on not biting the hand that feeds her for the future. One can only hope. Sorry you've had to go though this after trying to be a good friend. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, she was supposed to be there temporarily until she found a place herself, but now all of a sudden it's her home too. No longer a guest of a friend graciously helping her in what was originally for a limited time offer. If she gave her boyfriend a key, clearly, she hasn't been trying to find her own place and planning on not leaving for a while. It sounds like she just took full advantage and manipulated the crap out of you by weaseling her way into permanency. She can move in with her boyfriend, problem solved. I'm sorry this friend betrayed your trust and had absolutely no respect for you, your home, or your friendship. Not the asshole, and once she's out, I'd change, rekey the locks just in case she has more keys made. Am I the asshole for telling my husband I was tired of babysitting? This weekend, my 34 female husband, 38 male, last minute invited 2 of his friends, both males late 30s, over to hang out. I always enjoy hanging out with these friends. They usually bring their partners, but this time did not. They did each bring their kids, and one of them brought their 3 dogs. My kids enjoy playing with their kids, so it was all good. Approximately 10 minutes after everyone arrived at our house, the men went upstairs to play PlayStation, leaving me responsible for supervising and caring for 5 children, ages 10, 10, 7, 7, and 5, and 3 dogs for 5+ hours. 2 of the kids are mine. This was not discussed beforehand, and if I had not been here, they would not have left the kids downstairs, outside unsupervised. The kids were mostly well behaved and only broke a few things and got in a few fights. After about 4 hours, my husband came downstairs and asked me how it was going, and I told him I was tired of babysitting and that is not how I thought our hangout day would go. He got very upset. He said he never invites friends over to do this, which is true. They have never gone upstairs to play video games for hours while I watch their kids, and he felt like I was only thinking of myself. Now I feel like an asshole and I feel like I should have just let him have his fun afternoon, evening with his friends. Not the asshole, your husband's friends didn't need to bring their dogs and children to play video games. The dogs and children could have been left at their respective homes. Not the asshole, your husband and his friends took advantage of you. Does he watch your friends' kids so you and your friends can hang out without being asked? Not the asshole. He should have asked you beforehand if he could have a special day with his friends and if you would agree to babysit their kids and dogs. To simply impose it on you is rude and disrespectful, and he owes you an apology. Not the asshole. It is not fair that you were handed this responsibility without warning. There's nothing wrong with having guy time, but they could have asked if you were okay with it, and if not, figure a way to watch them on their own accord. Not the asshole. I bet his friends told their wives that they wanted to play games all day and their wives had other plans. Expected the guys to watch the kids. So the guys just loaded up their responsibilities and brought them to your house. Not the asshole should knock on their door and declare you're going out. When he asks why, respond with, I never go out on my own while my husband and his friends look after the kids. Not the asshole, if he expected you to play daycare, he should have asked you about it beforehand. Not the asshole. I suspect his friends asked if they could bring kids and he took for granted that you'd be available to watch them. The issue isn't him having friends over, but how he treated you in the process.